Okay, so a couple good points of discussion. A lot of things that I liked on this week's passage. I'd like to start with that Manhattan Beach property in regards to the Bruces. You know, I never really thought about the state of California besides when the United States took over it from Mexico. That there was areas within it they were populated by different types of indigenous people, whether it was the Tanva, I believe how you pronounce it, or even just pieces of property that were owned by people of color that were taken over by the establishment, I guess you could say. But yeah, the fact that the Bruces back in, I believe it was like around 1912, they had the drive and the ability to go about securing themselves a piece of property, and then having the court system, and I believe it was the court system taking it away from them and essentially submitting to the life of being a house worker. That's unfortunate. I think that it's really unfortunate that it took over just about a century for that property to be given back to them. I'm not sure if that heals any type of wounds besides the fact that the descendants of that family were able to get that property. And then we talk about like the Tanva, for example, as well, that were brought up in the video, and how they had a large piece of property as well that they went up into the mountain area, and how their property was taken from them. And just overall, it's an unfortunate thing, but I feel like justice was too late. I wish that suppression and things of that nature weren't a thing. I wish that people didn't look at your skin color and judge you by it. It's an unfortunate thing because at the end of the day, we all bleed the same color. We all have a heart. We all have a brain. We all built the same for the most part. And yeah, that's an unfortunate thing that's happened to a lot of indigenous people and people of color. But yeah, another thing as well when it comes to the 1968 walkout. So I never was aware of this, nor was I even aware of the Bruces and their properties being taken over. But the 1968 walkouts kind of remind me a lot of like the civil rights movements, and I'm not sure if I could correlate it with it or not. I think the civil rights movements were back more towards the 50s, early 60s, but when it came to like the brutality against the students from the police and the media covering it up and not letting the world see, that's unfortunate. It's something that I believe still happens to this day. It's used all the time, and that's the problem with big media, is you can manipulate anything into however you want and show the public one thing but conceal the truth. The tactics that they use in regards to walking out prior to roll call and things of that nature, I thought were very useful. And just the overall peacefulness of it was the reason that they were able to get the results they got. And I think that that's how a majority of things should be handled. But if you look at protests nowadays, I feel like a lot has reverted to violence. We talk about the George Floyd. It talked about in the video the George Floyd movement, and how they were protesting. That protest on its own was the reason that a lot of things were brought to light back 50, 60, 70 years ago. I feel like I don't know. I just feel like the direction of protests are going more violent compared to more peaceful. And the proof is in the pudding. You could see it every day. The George Floyd riots, you could see it whenever, somebody gets hurt by a police officer, when in reality, police officers hurt people of every single color, But again, it's the mainstream media moving things and changing things into a picture that they want to paint. And that's unfortunate. But yeah, those are my takeaways for this week.